It's Margarita, and today I'm going to tell you how to avoid being sold at the perfume counter. Have you ever felt pushed or forced into buying a fragrance? I think we all have at some point. Allow me to tell you something. As a former fragrance salesperson, I used to sell fragrances in stores a lifetime ago. And do you know that we were actually trained in how to guilt people into buying fragrances? Let me know in the comments if you have ever felt guilted into buying a fragrance. It could be because the person was so nice to you, they spent a lot of time with you, they showed you so many things that you didn't want to disappoint them by not buying from them. At the end of the day, our money is our money, and we have a right to spend it. And we actually have a duty to ourselves to be responsible with the money that we earn and how we spend it. If you genuinely do not like a product that someone is showing you, and this is not just for fragrance, for anything, do not buy it. Do not feel guilted into buying something. That said, do not lead the salesperson on either if you are genuinely not interested in making a purchase, or at least finding out more about the product that you are in there looking at. So it is a two-way street. But I will say this, as a former salesperson of fragrances in store at the mall, we had training on basically making people feel guilted in a way into buying a fragrance. So I'm going to tell you how to avoid feeling that way. What I do when I go fragrance shopping, if I'm going in store, I politely decline the assistance of the SA. That is probably the best way to go about being sold on a fragrance. Now, I know a lot of fragrances these days are behind the counter, so you do need their help. But if they have a sample on display someplace, just really sample whatever you can. And if you feel so inclined to engage the assistance of a salesperson, then do so. But just make it very clear while you're testing things, that you're looking for this. Like when I go shopping, one of my favorite fragrance destinations is Bloomingdale's. Bloomingdale's has a nice mixture of niche designer that I find interesting and that are not available everywhere, which is why I like shopping there. Usually, and I say usually because I've seen it happen in high-end stores, so usually higher-end salespeople tend to know more about the product. I've been in some of the lower-end stores, and a lot of times the fragrance people, I found myself educating them about their job than they could do for me about the product I was inquiring about. And I found it a bit off-putting. So I liked a higher-end fragrance shopping experience just because I usually get someone who knows more about the difference between a gourmand or a floral or a fruity or a chypre or whatever the case may be. So go in with an idea of what it is you want. Don't go in blindly, I just want to go sniffing. I mean, I do that sometimes too, but you really have to go in on a mission. Research the fragrances that pique your interest first. It's just like going grocery shopping. You don't want to go grocery shopping hungry, because then you're going to end up with twice as many things in the cart. The same thing can happen with fragrance. And impulse buying with fragrance honestly can be just as bad as an impulse buy at the grocery store when you're buying candies at the checkout counter you had no intention of buying. I'm guilty of that myself because I love fragrances. And when you're really partial to something and you love something, it's really easy to get wrapped up in the moment and be like, oh yes, I want that too, only to regret it. And this actually happened at my last visit to Bloomingdale's. I bought a couple fragrances that I honestly do not even reach for, and they were pricey. So I've been lately trying to force myself to reach for them just so I don't feel like I wasted my money. But honestly, I could have done without these. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are, maybe in a different video, but it happens, and it happens to the best of us. So what I recommend is going in with a mission. Have a list of fragrances that you know that store carries that you are genuinely interested in. There are a lot of online resources to research the notes of a fragrance. You can watch reviews on fragrances to see if it's something that even interests you, or just check that out. If they try to show you something else, and they will, especially if you don't like the item you came in for, you can humor them by smelling it, but let them know, I appreciate this, but I'm really only interested in XYZ. This happened to me at a different Bloomingdale's. I was going in looking for, I'm always looking for good gourmands, but I do like some freshies and some cleans too. And there were some fragrances by a Bulgari that they were showing me I had no interest in, but they were really trying to get me to buy something because I had already determined that nothing they showed me I was interested in, even the ones that I had originally come to smell. So Bulgari had some fragrances. There was a vanilla one and a musk one. And I just wasn't impressed by either. And so the salesperson turned up the charm. Remember, we were taught to do this in our training. They turned up the charm, if you will, and tried to tell me how great of a musk this was compared to other musks. And when I tell you this bulgari musk, it was nice. It was just a basic run-of-the-mill musk. Honestly, my $20 musk I got from Maison d'Orient white musk, it tops the $200 bulgari musk 10 times over. And I was fine with that. I already have that. Do not allow someone to luxury shame you or to quality shame you into buying something that you know you do not really need, don't want, probably not going to reach for. The other one was this vanilla fragrance they had. Vanilla is my number one fragrance note. They knew that. So of course they're like, oh, we can't get her with the musk. We know we can get her with the vanilla. That didn't work either because honestly it was boring. This vanilla, I have so many vanillas to the point where I am bored by vanilla, as in I've really got to be wowed to add a new vanilla into my fragrance. And the Bulgari one did not do that. So then attempt number 3 was, oh, when you layer them together. So it went from maybe not this one to, oh, try that to, oh, let me upsell you on both. Like maybe the combination would do something for me. No, just turn into vanilla musk. You can get vanilla musk on Amazon for probably $20 if that's really what you want. These are just 2 simple, straightforward, what's it called? A solo notes, basically. That just, I really don't think that solo notes types of fragrances only have like a single straightforward scent, are worth a lot of money because they're so overdone and there's so many inexpensive options to get something that is boring. If I'm going to spend a lot on a fragrance, it's got to be complex. It's got to do something that I just can't get anywhere else. And those weren't doing it for me. So you really want to think about, is this fragrance that I'm being quote unquote sold on, is it doing something for me that I have not experienced before? Or is this experience so wonderful that I can see myself reaching for this to experience this on a repeat basis? And you really have to be honest with yourself. And it's going to feel weird the first couple times you do it because you're going to feel indebted to your salesperson. It's okay. You're going to feel worse when you get home and have buyer's remorse. So my goal is to have my viewers not have buyer's remorse from fragrance as much as possible. Learn from my mistakes, okay? If I can save you from spending thousands of dollars on fragrances that you are not going to love, things that are just going to collect dust, or things you can get at a fraction of the cost for the same feeling, then let me help you do that. But that's my recommendation. To avoid being sold on a fragrance, make sure you go in with the plan. That's step number 1. Have a list of fragrances that interest you and research if that store you're going to even carries those. Number 2, if you do not love it. And here's the thing, what I like to do, because you're not really going to get the full experience of a fragrance at the first spritz. Walk around the store for a bit. Don't rub the fragrance. No, you don't want to break up the particles. Just let it sit for a few minutes. Maybe walk around the store. Say, I'm going to come back. That's what I do. I'll do my shopping, especially if it's at a department store. I'll stop at the fragrance counter first. Then I'll look at the clothing, handbag, shoes, or whatever else I'm interested in. And then make the perfume counter my last stop. Because at that point, the fragrances that I've tried on will have had a chance to really develop into what they're basically going to be. I typically do not wear any fragrance when I leave the house on my skin when I know that I'm going to try on fragrances, because I don't want them to conflict with each other. I want to have clean spaces. And the more clean space you have on your skin, the more opportunities for fragrances you can try. Like I like to try on the back of my hand. That's one spot. The wrist, the forearm, the back of the arm. And here's what else is funny. And my husband laughs at me about this all the time. If my legs were exposed, I spritz fragrances on my knee, and on my calf. Yes. If you're flexible, you can get, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 sections on each side. So you can sample 12 fragrances at one time. Yes, this is something that I do. You can ask him. He will second this. I sample in bulk. Yeah, so you can sample 12 fragrances at one time and be really efficient. I'm all about efficiency. But let me know if you found this video helpful. Also, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you think would love to hear all the tea on the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent about fragrances. And until next time, I am Margarita, and you have an awesome day. Bye.